In the movie Blade Runner, there are a race of people called replicants that represent this lowest socioeconomic class of people. They are the slaves of yesteryear and the working class of today. The dominant ideology of the Blade Runner world is that the replicants are not human, and thus are not worthy of having the same rights as the rest of humanity. However, the replicants are presented in a more positive light in the movie. They are victims of society. The audience is separated from this by feeling compassion towards the replicants. By doing so, the audience can feel superior to the uncaring slavers of the dystopian future. The idea that race is biological, a belief that many races still hold today, the working class as slaves, and people of means ignoring the needs and rights of those that are underprivileged are all issues this movie brings up to anybody with a mind to recognize it. The movie can be seen to attack racism, as the idea of biology being a basis for difference is brought under attack. Another aspect of the film is the working class as slaves. At one point in time in America, those that did the most work actually were slaves. This is now seen as deplorable by the population at large. But this attitude ignores some problems faced by some people in America right now. After slaves were banned in America, many former slaves were in the exact same position they were before. They would work for nothing more than food and shelter, the same thing they got when they were slaves. The working class now is not much different than the situation then. Many people are working long, hard days for only enough wages to survive and nothing else. These people also do not have opportunities to rise above their situation to become successful. They are essentially stuck, and they become slaves to their economic situations.
What's this?
Nexus 6, Roy Batty. Incept date 2016. Combat model, optimum self-sufficiency. Probably the leader.
This is Zora. She's trained for an off-world kick murder squad. Talk about Beauty and the Beast. She's both. The foreskin job is Pris, a basic pleasure model. The standard item for military clubs in the outer colonies.
They were designed to copy human beings in every way except their emotions. And the designers reckoned that after a few years they might develop their own emotional responses. Hate, love, fear, anger, envy. So they built in a fail-safe device.
Which is what?
4-year lifespan. Now, there's a Nexus 6 over at the Tyrell Corporation. I want you to go put the machine on it.
And if the machine doesn't work?
The movie brings up the old issue in race relations of nature versus nurture. The modern sociological belief is that the differences in race are culturally created. Biology has little, if anything, to do with the differences between races. Blade Runner brings back the old argument that the difference in races is biological. The replicants in the movie are all similar in appearance to normal humans. They are as similar in appearance and actions that the main character has to investigate to make sure they are in fact the people he is looking for. Arguments of biology as the basis for discrimination are undermined if someone cannot determine who is different. What is the defining line between us and them? At one time in America, it was determined that if someone is 1/16 black, they are black and treated as such. But some people can pass for another race without anyone knowing any better. If this is possible, then what really is the difference?
You're watching television. Suddenly you realize there's a wasp crawling on your arm.
I'd kill it.
You're reading a magazine. You come across a full-page nude photo of a girl.
Is this testing whether I'm a replicant or a lesbian, Mr. Deckard?
Just answer the questions, please. You show it to your husband. He likes it so much he hangs it on your bedroom wall.
I wouldn't let him.
Why not?
I should be enough for him.
One more question. You're watching a stage play. A banquet is in progress. The guests are enjoying an appetizer of raw oysters. The entree consists of boiled dog.
Would you step out for a few moments, Rachel? Thank you.
She's a replicant, isn't she?
I'm impressed. How many questions does it usually take to spot one?
I don't get it, Tyrell.
How many questions?
20, 30 cross-referenced.
It took more than 100 for Rachel, didn't it?
She doesn't know.
She's beginning to suspect, I think.
Suspect? How can it not know what it is?
Commerce is our goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto. Rachel is an experiment, nothing more. We began to recognize in them strange obsession. After all, they are emotionally inexperienced with only a few years in which to store up the experiences which you and I take for granted. If we gift them with the past, we create a cushion or pillow for their emotions, and consequently we can control them better.
Memories. You're talking about memories.
The replicants are only recognizably different from normal humans because of their behavior. Even then, the movie can be seen as making an argument for the difference in behavior being from lack of social development. Rachel, a replicant, has memories implanted. Consequently, she acts normal. And in a test to determine if she is a replicant, it takes many more questions to determine that she is. In fact, the main character falls in love with Rachel. If someone is so close to human that they do not know they are not human, no one around that person doesn't know they are not human, and they act completely normal, what is to say they are not human?
You think I'm a replicant, don't you? Look. It's me with my mother.
Yeah? Remember when you were 6? You and your brother snuck into an empty building through a basement window. You were going to play doctor. He showed you his. And when it got to be your turn, you chickened and ran. Remember that? You ever tell anybody that? Your mother, Tyrell, anybody? Huh? You remember the spider that lived in a bush outside your window? Orange body, green legs. Watched her build a web all summer. Then one day there's a big egg in it. The egg hatched.
The egg hatched,
And?
and 100 baby spiders came out. And they ate her.
Implants. Those aren't your memories. They're somebody else's. They're Tyrell's nieces. Okay. Bad joke. I made a bad joke. You're not a replicant. Go home. Okay? No, really. I'm sorry. Go home.
The problem the movie presents is one of a future where science has gone out of control, and giant corporations rule and have people as slaves. The intention of the movie makers is to elicit a feeling of fear from the audience, as well as a feeling of superiority, because the audience is meant to feel compassion for the replicants, and that they are better than these people that ignore the rights of these artificial humans. They would never do that. But with a little critical thinking and some more in-depth analysis, the movie can bring up many more topics and issues that the creators perhaps did not mean to.
I'm surprised you didn't come here sooner.
It's not an easy thing to meet your maker.
And what can he do for you?
Can the maker repair what he makes?
Would you like to be modified?
Stay here. I had in mind something a little more radical.
What seems to be the problem?
Death.
Death. Well, I'm afraid that's a little out of my jurisdiction.
I want more life, fucker.
The facts of life. To make an alteration in the evolvement of an organic life system is fatal. A coding sequence cannot be revised once it's been established.
Why not?
Because
Barbara Einrich refers to the working class Americans as the working poor. Surely these people are not being treated as badly as the slaves were, but there are many cases of people suffering abuse silently for fear of losing their jobs. They do not have the privilege to leave their jobs or chance being fired. The other argument is that these people can quit if they want. This is not really true. If someone has nothing to fall back on, does not make enough to save anything, or there are no other job prospects, these people are forced to stay at the job regardless of the situation. The replicants are slaves by force, but there are those in the working class that are slaves by necessity.
But all of this is academic. You were made as well as we could make you.
But not to last.
The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And you have burned so very, very brightly, Roy. Look at you. You're the prodigal son. You're quite a prize.
This brings up my final point. People who are privileged are ignoring the needs of those that are not. In the movie, normal people either do not care about the replicants or are actively trying to destroy or discourage them. The one person who does finally decide to help the replicants has to be convinced, and in the end he is destroyed by a replicant. In this, the movie sends a confusing message. The viewer is meant to sympathize with the replicants, but the one person who helps them is murdered by them. Is the message to care, but don't get too close? The creators, and likely many in the audience, are privileged, and the creators represent those who are underprivileged as people who destroy those who help them. Despite this, the audience is meant to feel compassion for the replicants. It is meant to show the audience that the underprivileged are like animals. Be compassionate for them and help them, but don't trust them, they are still animals. Ultimately, Blade Runner brings up many issues for thought and analysis, intentional or not, seemingly with good intentions, but with some dubious connotations.